Hi everyone, happy to see all of you. Right, so actually, let's give it a while for some of you to come online. Let me just see. Right, something happened yesterday, and I think it was a lot of chatter online. Okay, HDB released some stuff, and I thought it's timely, all right, to come and speak to all of you about it. All right, okay, so let me just go ahead and share with you my screen. All right, so this is HDB breaking news. Okay, I think you all should have been swarmed from CNN, Straight Times, Business Times that talks about the new policies they have for the new properties that is coming into in this as soon as next month, right? Okay, so let's just look at it. This is what it is. You've seen all of these pictures online. So today I want to just give you a quick summary of what it is, what you can look out for. Okay, and what it entails for you if you're looking to if your first time is going to buy a property for yourself, or are you thinking of even getting a property like that in the future? Okay, so I'll go into this in three parts. First thing is, what is the update all about, right? Its various impacts and implications, and also how would you then start, how can you then start planning forward? Okay, yeah, so back a bit or history, why did all this discussion happen? Okay, if you see here, you can see this pinnacle at Duxton. The ministry actually spoke to the public for the past 10 months, if I'm not wrong, right? And they got so much feedback on what they could do because in summary, if someone makes money and it's not in you, you get jealous, right? So we all like to complain. You say, how can this person make so much money? Okay, so this is one example of Pinnacle and Duxton. You guys would know how cheap it was at the time for phase one and phase two. Phase one made the most money, right? And for us to appreciate how much it was, right? This is just recent, looking at a 4-room flat. If you cannot see this, just recent. This is 890. Yeah. This is for the mid floor to high floor. Okay. The 37 to the 39th floor was a crazy 1/million for HDB 4-room flat. All right. And if you look further, this is the 5-room flat, all right? 1.1 million just done in September, and in just this July, all right, above the 40th floor transacted for 1.225 million. All right. And this makes it, I think, this year we had 300 over units of more than $1 million transaction. And I think people get a bit worried. Okay, now why are they worried? It's because they have to answer, this is supposed to be public housing, right? If it gets so expensive, then it will only mean the people that is able to enjoy such location and convenience are the families that are very well to do. What about those that are just normal and middle class? They have no chance to even enter the central area. Does it make sense? All right, so we are looking at basically the first one, which is just next month. This is Rochelle. You can see how convenient this place is, right in front of your Jalan Besar MRT station. Okay, you guys can pick this off the HDB website under the new launches. Right, they will actually show that this is going to be released next month. Rochelle MRT station. So this is prime area, consists of 3 rooms and 4-room flats. All right. Okay, and the next one that I thought was so timely, they released it this month once they confirmed this new model, right? It's because back in 2019, all right, a lot of you have been hearing about this. You know about the plans that we are going to do in this area. Many of you have invested properties in this area too for our private properties, right? It's because Keppel Club redevelopment will consist of 9,000 units. Now, at the same time, you will know that if you put in your ticket and get a slot or a chance to get a property here, you didn't get it, for example, right? And then these properties become worth 1.3 million dollars, especially at this location, waterfront. Then it's very difficult for the ministry to answer everyone, right? So again, this place is going to go for redevelopment. I think the land lease will end of this year, and then they will start to redevelop this place. All right, it will consist of HDB properties and also private properties. Yeah. Now, therefore, today we have a new we have a new category, okay, called PLH. right? Now we have BTO, now we have PLH, which is prime location housing. Now, to understand what is PLH, we just first get some classification, right? How does any plot of land qualify as a PLH, right? The first would then be in prime and central location, like city centers and surrounding areas, including your greater southern waterfront. And this is the one that I showed you earlier. Okay, the first one will be actually the roadshow unit. Okay, now the next thing is that because this is a developing model, it's something whereby it is a pilot, right? First one. Therefore, I think things might change or improve along the way. But as of now, it is what it is since they released yesterday. Yeah. But the funny thing is that it is not just isolated to the central regions of Singapore. It could even be in HDB estates, all right? I was guessing, is it those like in Kovan? That's already been launched, right? But that one has been super oversubscribed. That's right in front of Kovan MRT station. Okay, so it seems that now if this model works out, we'll be looking at a possible matured estates, very good location, be placed as a PLH. Okay, so we just see in the following months. Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm going into how do you do you qualify to buy these properties, and what are the incentive to buy such a model, or rather such a property, right? Okay, so this is basically quite straightforward. It is exactly the same as buying a BTO, right? You need to at least have one Singaporean, one PR. Okay, it must be a married couple. Your income cannot be in excess of $14,000. Okay, and then when you buy a BTO, you are also not supposed to have a private property, or you must have at least sold it 30 months prior, right? But there's a huge incentive here, and that will actually be if you buy a PLH, right, you are given extra subsidies. Okay? Now, okay, so before this is your eligibility earlier, I was saying, this is what is the terms and condition that you're going to bind to yourself as a purchaser or owner of such a property, right? I should try to remember PLH. Okay. Okay, so these properties would then you'll be faced, or rather have a 10-year MOP. So instead of a normal 5 years, you got to live there for 10 years. All right. The next thing is that these flats are priced with additional subsidies, like what I mentioned earlier. And after you sell a property, you have to repay back a percentage of it, or the resale price, back to HDB. So I don't know how this works. All right. Is it going to be delivered to you in a form of CPF? All right. And if it's CPF, are you then having to also pay back the interest, right? Now, but this is a 10-year period. If it's a large quantum property, and most of us use a lot of a CPF, at a time, because of its restriction, is there a possible or possibly that when you sell, it's going to be a negative sale? Then would it be that the first charge is your loan, the second charge is HDB taking back their subsidies, and then finally CPF gets their money, and then if you have anything left after that, right? So this structure, I think, is something that I hope they will address in the coming days, right? So at least we more or less, you guys will know whether which is better for you to go towards, right? Now this is to me, it was quite interesting, is the normal BTO or resale model and the PLH model. This basically speaks about your rentability, right? For number one, the resale flat, you can sell after 10 years compared to normal 5 years, or in the resale market also for 5 years. Investing in private properties, obviously you can do that, but for the PLH model, you can only do it after 10 years. Now, for other forms of public housing, they are allowed to rent out their whole flat, but here you're not allowed. You're only allowed to rent out your spare rooms. All right. So earlier, you understand the eligibility to buy a PLH property, what you are signing up to be binded for in a PLH model. Now, I want you to understand next is your prospective buyers, right? After you sell already, before you sell, who are going to be your future prospective buyers, all right? And to be able to visualize who is going to buy from you, you must first then understand what restrictions they will also have. Okay, this is very, very special. They have restrictions imposed if they buy the property off you, all right? It is exactly a little bit like the multi-generation home that BTO built, right? When they built the multi-generation home, the restriction was that when you put in the resale market, you can only sell to another multi-gen family. You cannot sell to any other families. You guys got that? Yeah. So here, interestingly to note is that for a typical resale flat, it's open to everyone, correct? For the SPRs, you need to fulfill individually 3 years of SPRship in Singapore before you can buy a public housing. For a PLH, you are not eligible to buy at all. So effectively, the SPR group is gone, right? SPR families. Next, for a PLH property, you can only sell to a married couple, all right? Singles, not eligible, right? But for a single, you're eligible to buy a resale property, okay? For a PLH, irregardless, even in the resale market, there is a ceiling cap of 14,000. Today, for a resale property, it doesn't matter what is your income, you are eligible to buy any resale property. But as long as this is a PLH, you cannot buy. Okay? Right? The fourth point, you are not eligible to buy a PLH property if you presently own a private property or if you have disposed it within the last 30 months. Yeah. But for a normal resale flat, this is not relevant. You can buy a resale flat today, even if you own a private property, right? You have 6 months to dispose of it, right? So there's no restrictions on that, but they impose really strict restrictions on this PLH, okay? And this is the same restrictions that is going to greet you when you sell it to your next buyer, all right? And the buyers have to think about this before they sell to their next buyer too. Again, this is the same, but it is to me it's a bit ambiguous because of the way they write the news article, right? For resale flat, you can sell after 5 years. This is after 10 years, okay? But for here, I'm not so sure whether this 10-year restrictions also is imposed on in a resale market. Means the second buyer, do they have to also hold for another 10 years? I don't think it makes sense, but the way they write it in the news article, they say that everything also in relation to it, but I'm thinking it's relating to actually the rooms here, right? So it will mean that if today you hold on to your PLH property you bought as a BTO, if you want to keep it, you can only rent out as bedrooms, right? For your next buyers, if they buy from you, it's the same. They cannot rent out the whole unit either. They cannot monetize it, okay? Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Oh yeah, so over here, the last one I added here is that singles above 35, they're not eligible to buy PLH flats. Yeah. So this to me would equals to a huge shrinking of available buyers for such an asset class. Okay. Now let me just see if there's any one online before I go further. Okay, right. Now let's talk about planning forward. There's some questions that I think you could think about, right? If today you're a first timer, 20s or 30s, if you are looking to buy such an asset class from HDB, right? Are you willing to sacrifice 15 years of your life? Okay, what do I mean by that? If they're going to take 5 years to build the property, all right, your MOP will only start upon your key collection, correct? So it's another 10 years. Therefore, if you're looking to build multiple properties as a portfolio, or looking to upgrade to a next asset class, which is your private property, you got to weigh whether 15 years later for you and your wife, your husband, all right, what is your LTV going to be in the future? okay? And the TDSR, the loan you can get 15 years later, all right? The next thing is you got to think about the possible private property price 15 years later, right? Is it something that should be out of reach for you, okay? Before you decide to buy such a property, yeah? Next thing, okay, restrictions of renting out a property, your spare room. If you intend to, okay, I want to buy this property, this new property, right? And then you're looking to buy under one name, and you're thinking, I want to monetize it in future. The government says that you're able to rent out your spare rooms. So you are thinking, I can actually purchase a private property, move the private property, and rent out as bedrooms, right? Okay, now you got to understand something, and I think it's best for all of you to clarify it. But when I actually look through the HDB website, the definition of renting out of bedrooms means that the owners are actually staying in the house most of the time. Okay, it is not like you are not living there, and since you have 3 bedrooms, I rent out individual all 3 bedrooms. It's not like that. You have to register for it. Okay, so I'm not so sure whether is there some consensus, some leeway they are giving for this, or I do not want you to be caught off guard, right? So again, according to HDB, how they classify that is based on if you're doing a room rental, the landlord or the homeowner is actually living in the property most of the time. Okay. So again, to me, is more restrictions. Okay. Yeah. So again, for the youngsters or you guys, weigh your possible gains that you think you can make versus a time trade-off. I do not personally think, okay, because of the shrinking buyer pool, I personally do not think that we are going to hit multi-million properties. It seems to be 3 and 4 rooms, right? In fact, I'll be quite worried for the smaller size. You see, a 3-bedroom at such a place could attract a singles. But today, the singles are not allowed to buy this property. Then you're talking about only family, right? So if it's family, husband and wife with 1 kid, I don't know how they're going to do that. If they're asking families to procreate, have more babies, right? But they have 3 rooms there, which is, let's say, it's quite a big amount of number. I think it's going to be quite challenging to resell it to a couple. Yeah. But anyway, this is just what I think. Yeah. So you just weigh, if you're going to make X amount of dollars over 15 years, does it make sense to you? Right. And then I ask yourself, what do you think is a possible resale price at the time? Okay. I mean, your other competitors are basically all the other resale HDB properties that people could buy. They might not need to stay in Central, right? So yeah, something for you to think about. But as for me, my personal opinion, I love it. Okay. Now, I love it basically is because it becomes part of an asset class for me to consider in my portfolio. Okay, what do I mean by portfolio? I think it's a great asset class if I'm intending to live in a prime location. All right. And I know that it's not going to be expensive. You talk about 15 to 20 years later, I'm already in my 50s, reaching 60s, right? I can sell all my properties. Okay. I can downgrade to such a property. And I know that I personally believe, okay, this is me. The 5-room, I don't know whether there'll be 5-room or not. I only saw 3 and 4-room flats, all right? But if there's a 5-room flat, I don't think it will be more than 800K. This is my own thinking. And there is a possible oversupply than buyers in that area, okay, because of a lot of restrictions, right? And I think it's a great for people who have accumulated wealth or properties over their younger days. If they want to unlock most of them as cash, this is a great place to stay, right? Because to me, it's a great asset class to retire in, right? Good location, large space, and small capital. Okay, so I think this is great for people, again, to downgrade into, but not to kick off as your first property, right? Okay, yeah. So anyway, leave your comments on below, right? Let me know what you think, whether you think this is great or not. This is good, and yeah, all right. Have a great weekend and catch up all of you soon. Bye.